Once upon a time in the land of Israel, there lived a woman named Naomi. Naomi's name means pleasant, but her life was far from it. Her husband had just died, and she and her 2 daughters-in-law were heading back to Israel. But before they arrived, one of her daughters-in-law, Orpah, decided to stay behind with her people. But Ruth, the other daughter-in-law, refused to abandon Naomi. She said, "Don't urge me to leave you or to turn back from following you. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord deal with me, be it ever so severely, if anything but death separates you and me." And Naomi knew that Ruth was being sincere, so she stopped urging her to stay behind. Years passed, and one day, Naomi and Ruth were gleaning in the fields of a wealthy landowner named Boaz. Now, gleaning was kind of like a side hustle for these women. The law required that when farmers harvested their crops, they left some of the grain for the poor to gather. So these women would come in and pick up the leftovers. Well, as they were gleaning, Ruth happened to find favor with Boaz, who was a kind and generous man, and he took special care of her. He made sure she had enough to eat and even instructed his workers to leave extra grain for her to gather. As time went on, both Naomi and Ruth fell in love with this man named Boaz. And after Ruth became pregnant, Naomi was overjoyed because it looked like God was finally blessing her. Soon enough, Ruth gave birth to a baby boy, and they named him Obed. And a few years later, her other son, Jesse, also became a great man. And through Jesse's line, God promised to bring the Messiah into the world. Now, I know that might sound like quite a story, but stick with me here, because I want to share 2 important lessons that we can learn from it. First, never give up on people. When I first started reading this story, I have to admit that I didn't have much sympathy for Naomi. I mean, her sons had married these Moabite women, which wasn't exactly a good look back then. In fact, the book of Ruth is the only book in the Old Testament that doesn't mention God even once, and instead it focuses on human relationships and loyalty. But you know what? As I continued reading, I couldn't help but fall in love with the story and all the characters involved. It reminded me of the power of human connection, and how even in the darkest of times, hope can still shine through. You see, despite all the pain and suffering Naomi had endured, she never lost faith in God. And even when her sons had died and her daughters-in-law had left her, she held on to the belief that God would one day restore her fortunes. And let me tell you, He did just that. The thing is, God doesn't always work on our timelines. Sometimes His plans are way bigger than ours, and we have to trust that He's got everything under control. Just like Naomi, we might face times when it feels like things are falling apart. But if we hold on to our faith and keep moving forward, God can turn our situations around in ways we never imagined. Second, never give up on God. You see, even though the story of Ruth doesn't directly talk about God, He's still there in the background, working things out for good. You see, Ruth and Naomi were foreigners in a strange land, but they trusted that God would take care of them, and He did. They found kindness in unexpected places, and eventually their lives were transformed. Similarly, sometimes we go through seasons in life where we feel like outsiders. We might be dealing with grief or struggling to make ends meet. But if we put our trust in God, He can open doors for us that we never thought possible. Just like Ruth and Naomi, we might not see God working in our lives right away. But if we stay faithful, He can turn our situations around in ways we never imagined. So remember, no matter what you're going through, never give up on people and never give up on God. He's got a plan for you, and I'm here to help you discover it. Until next time.